Excellent, and welcome to what is a new theme within the TADSummit Podcast. It is Truth in AI, and we are very lucky to have Brian here, so the mastermind behind all the good stuff that happened at TADAC Open with their AI Gateway, and of course, Johnny as well. So Brian, Johnny, how are you both?
Who goes first?
I'll let Johnny go first.
First of all, I'm really excited about this one because of the greatest raw marketing ad I've ever seen in my life, which is, if anybody hasn't seen it, you will, because we'll post it again. It's brainchild of Brian here. And I've just never seen anything like it in my life as far as just the confidence. I know Free Switch from many years ago. I restructured a company called NACT, which sadly one of the owners just passed away a few days ago. So God bless you, Arnie Goodstein, and may you sail off into the wind. He loved to sail. So I go back in the voice industry, and that's how far I go back with knowing Free Switch. And when Free Switch came out, it was an explosion in our industry. It was like, what is this? What are these guys doing? It was out of control. I mean, just the excitement level from the network standpoint, just they ripped everything out, and it was Free Switch. Full circle, I got an opportunity to listen to Brian, greatest ads. We had Anthony Minicelli on the show, and know a little bit about CPaaS. We did a spot 6-7 months ago called CPaaSAI, where we predicted everybody would go to CPaaS AI, right? But SignalWire was already there, right? And that's the reason why this is the first episode of our Truth in AI, and it's a new brand called Geek and The Street, kind of, because I'm kind of watching the street, but I'm actually from the street. So I strung up on Alan as well. And I think it's going to be the biggest series going. And we're here to just, Brian, they're going to explain AI to me, because the way I see it is the $1 trillion grift. We just watched our boy Twilio with a $70 billion grift on CPaaS. Most of you guys benefited out there. God bless you. It's good for you, but it's over. It's in the CPaaS, as Mr. Minicelli pointed out. So I'm just excited to have Brian lead the way, be the first episode, and maybe on many to come, really kind of call it out, because they're the guys from Free Switch. I mean, really? So we've got the best of the best here today, episode 1. And Brian, I'm sorry, I hope I didn't pump you up too much.
You're great. You hit every nail on the head there. I've been very vocal, as you know, on LinkedIn and various platforms about the reality of what AI is and what it can and cannot do. And I have experienced firsthand with potential customers that they have this really lofty idea that it's this magical thing that they can just, it's magic. And they can replace employees with it, and it's just ready to go. Like, the company that replaced all their employees with chatbots, then started giving out bad weight loss advice. Or, the Air Canada incident where it gave people incorrect information, or the Chevrolet that was given away for free.
My favorite, the DHL. I don't know if you saw that one out of Europe. I
have not, but that's a really
you're going to love that one.
Good point. But my thing was I started seeing a lot of like demos and products and services and things that come out that really had these unrealistic like turnaround and endpointing times. Humans don't communicate like binars from Star Trek: The Next Generation. They don't turn around instantaneously. People hum and haw around, and a natural communication flow feels better for a human. And that was not what I was seeing in the demonstrations that I had coming out. It just wasn't possible. And when you actually have an AI that's interfacing with an external system to do, a CRM dip or a ticket open or any of those things, there's some delays there that are just natural as a result of those APIs. And I didn't see any of this being reflected in reality across the spectrum when I would see people on LinkedIn going, oh, look at this. It's so awesome. It's so fast. Yes, because it's not doing anything. It is literally hallucinating all of it. If you want to have a real world human interaction with an AI, I'd have to say there's very few out there, and ours is one of them. Ours is a turnkey, one of the very few, if the only turnkey AI solution out there that comes with the voice, the LLM, the function scaffolding, everything around it just built in and ready to rock and roll. And I've not seen anybody have this level of integration that we have. And in fact, on May 8th, I'm actually doing a deep dive on our SignalWire live wire, showing like the deep dive of this is how our AI talks to your application, raw down to the HTTP level of the interchange, and showing people how that works. And so this is going to help developers just realize there is this component of what we do with AI that I see programmers, and this is something that I've seen a lot of. Programmers approach what they're doing with the language models and AI like they're going to program it. It's a weird hybrid between a human and a machine, because the language model is smarter than you give it credit for. For example, you can do really crazy things like, I want you to format the date in Postgres time date format. It's smart enough to know how to do that. So leverage that. It's also smart enough to know, when you give it functions, what those functions are. For example, if I were to give you a hammer and a nail and then say, hang a picture on the wall, you would use the hammer and the nail to hang the picture on the wall. Our AI agent is just as human and smart as that, because you've given it functions that are tools, and you don't really have to tell it how to use them. It can intuitively do those things. But I don't see this particular mindset being expressed in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Everybody seems to think it's pointy clicky. We're going to have HubSpot and this and that, and it's just all going to work. No, it's not. If you want a deep integration and you want to have an integration that does some special thing you want, it's not going to be point and click. It's not going to be Zapier. It's not going to be flexible enough, fast enough for you to do those types of things. So this is why I've started to notice these outcomes of demos and stuff. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't really show you. And if you go look on our GitHub repo, we have a digital employees repo that has real world examples that do real things with real databases that show you how this all fits together. So, that's what my goal was, is to highlight the things you see in the wild may not exactly line up with reality. So maybe investigate and understand what you're trying to do with an AI agent before you dive headfirst in and hit a rock.
Okay, when you're talking about the actual developers or programmers, right? You're talking about the misconceptions that are within the industry. So your market is developers now, right? So you're basically trying to get developers, kind of like the developers that Twilio has, right? So
Correct.
you're offering now something that's light speed, I'm sure, because it always is with you guys, and more integrated than what they're currently using.
Correct.
Right.
We're trying to.
So you kind of built it, and now they'll come. It's kind of like a field of AI type of thing.
It really is. It really is. And we are trying to learn from those interactions and grow from that feedback that we get from the people that may not have the developer resources to do the more deeper things. So it's allowing me to see patterns in what they want to accomplish. And so it's starting to form these things that we can turn into pluggable interfaces for things like calendar access. For example, I have a calendar AI that I've written that interfaces with my Google Calendar. So it has functions that's able to check my calendar, and you can put something on my calendar over the phone in real time. And it's one of those things that, it took me a weekend to figure it out and get everything lined up. Yeah. But once I did that, it gave me a little bit of an insight. So I went from that and did one that puts data into a Google spreadsheet from the phone call. So it could, you could call it, it could ask 10 questions and then shove it in a Google spreadsheet, and it shows up real time. And then I did one that was a dial by name directory for our G Suite for the whole domain of SignalWire. You can call, I need to speak with Michael Jarris, and be like, please hold, I'll transfer you. And off it goes to Michael Jarris. And you don't even have to, it's just all there. Mm-hmm. So there's, like I say, there's this weird humanity versus programming mindset that took me 3 months. And I call it programmer's bias, because if you approach a language model and an AI like you're going to tell it what to do versus show it what to do, you are in for a world of hurt, because there's a big difference between those two mindsets. because the language model is more human than some humans I've interacted with. And that's
I want to give
scary.
you one funny story when you're bringing this up. So when I was younger, I used to think I was a baseball player. I used to be the director of the police athletic league in my town. I ran a little league, and we had a picnic, and we just bought this new grill, right? New grill. We had a barbecue. So we asked this kid. Everybody called him Cousin Lou. Right? Everybody loved him. Big kid. Just said, Lou, I need you to dump the grill over the wall. Our field was on the wall. Right? Turn around. Lou comes back and go, "Hey, Lou, what happened? What'd you do?" He goes, "Oh, I dumped the grill." Well, I said, where is it? He goes, "Well, you told me to dump it over the wall." He literally dumped our new grill. It was like a couple $100 back there, and we were raising money to the community. He literally dumped the grill because I didn't say, "Louis, dump what's inside the grill over the wall." So you're basically, it's Cousin Lou.
Yeah. You're highlighting the thing that I've shown people, like the AI sometimes will interpret things literally like that.
Like Cousin Lou.
Exactly. So, but sometimes it won't. So you may, like, for example, we did a pizza demo and it would take a pizza order and do all the things, but 1 out of 100 times you'd call and say, "We're out of pizza." So, you know, it is, but you had to tell it, "We're never out of pizza." You also had to be careful with very strong negative words like never and don't. I had a customer that set up an AI agent. They had it all exactly right. And in their prompt, they said, "Never transfer the caller until you verify them." So never was too strong. It thought never applied because there was a comma. And so we changed it, transfer the caller after you verify them. And it did everything it's supposed to do every time, like clockwork. And so language, as imprecise as English is, you got to think about, you start to see how language models can interpret what you have in your prompt versus what it did. And then what's even funnier is you start to see humans having like this problem. Like I'll be in a call with people and they'll think, "Oh, we're all on the same page." And I'm like, hold up. Nope. I think you are not even in the same library. Let's step back here. Because I sense that y'all think you're on the same page, but you're not. So you start to notice these behaviors. And so in my mind, the language models are mimicking the human behavior because they are trained on that bias. And so they start to mimic these behaviors. And so I have a deeper understanding of clarity of communication and being specific, but you can be overly specific or too verbose in how you communicate. So you have to really pick like where you go in that regard. And it's a weird situation. I think my high school English teacher would be proud of me at this point. It is just like a level of the English language I never thought I would have to be dealing with, but now here I am. And it is fun. It's exciting. And it's opened my eyes to some areas of what we can do with this technology.
Yeah. English is just math with letters.
Right?
That's all it is. Alan.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on and your view on this? Obviously, we've been hogging the mic on you.
No,
a little bit.
But what I'd like, given all the work you've been doing, how do you describe what AI is to the layman, to your mom, to your relatives, when you're talking about some of the things you're getting up to? Because you personify, then you get taken down a rat hole. Also to some of the developers you're working with, how do you describe it so they have something in their head that helps them be successful when they're building up a solution to a particular workflow or business problem?
Okay, so the first thing I do is approach it as one, I instruct people, humanize your AI, give it a name, give it a personality.
Gotcha.
Treat it as a human, interact with it as a human, and instruct it as a human. Because if you were to sit down and try to tell your mother or your grandma how to do this task you want it to do, how would you do that? Because that right there is your path to success. Trying to do it as a programmer, not going to work.
Yeah.
But like that is the number one thing I lead with, and that's what I've learned in this process is humanization.
That's interesting. That's really cool.
Now, I want to just ask one question while I can, Alan. I'm sorry.
No,
I got to take
it.
You've been talking to this kid for years. So he's part of your community. I'm new. So I kind of post incoherently sometimes. So I literally got I don't know how many followers now, and from 3 when I started last year. And I got
Thousands,
people
yeah.
yelling at me on LinkedIn. I got personal messages. You're incoherent. Your posts don't make sense. Use ChatGPT. So I tried starting using ChatGPT. I can't get one post out of that because I write something and then they scold me. You can't say this. This is insensitive. This is wrong. So I gave up. I couldn't even use it because it's like I'm talking to my mother. What is that?
You know, I use ChatGPT on the daily. I use Copilot as well. One of the things I've
Is there
learned,
anybody that's not going to talk to me? Like, Mom?
no, exactly. It is a wonderful technology. It has its limitations and purposes. And for example, I used it yesterday extensively because I was interacting with somebody that was being a little bit abrasive about their communication structure, literally communicating to me in haiku. And I was trying to, like, you know, express like, this is the wrong approach. This is the thing. So I type out what I was wanting to respond with, and I would say, now please rewrite this in business, business speak that is friendly to the customer.
Yeah.
And then I would say, I'd give it that, and it would completely rewrite it. And it was very successful because I was it expanded on everything. It did everything I expected. I was clear in my communications as a result of that, given the difficult uphill battle I had with, somebody that didn't want to listen to me at all. And so sometimes you have to, and I could probably do like a master's class on this, because I did like an internal, because like one of our people internal goes, how do you get it to code for you? I said, what are you telling it or asking it? So he shares his screen, shows me what he's doing. I was like, oh no, that's not how you do it. Here's how I do it. And so I shared my screen, went over a bunch of things of how I get it to do what I need it to do. And so my entire team uses all of these tools now to help them. For example, I had one of my techs was trying to fix a bug in SIP.js, and I didn't know the answer. ChatGPT knew the answer, but he didn't know how to ask. So we had a little powwow, and I gave him some pointers, and he went and asked. About 20 minutes later, he's like, oh, I figured it out. ChatGPT did answer what I needed. I was just not asking the right question. So I think it comes down to how you ask the question, and what you're asking dictates kind of how you frame it.
Yeah, but I was just using it for one purpose. I'm still using Google. I haven't transitioned over to ChatGPT because it annoys me, quite frankly. But back on AI, there's a lot of, obviously, the AI, we've been very passionate about wanting to stop grandma, and you guys have been very supportive. One of the few. Everybody else is kind of hiding because they're all part of Spam Club, and they're making their money that way, which is fine. Look, I was always raised never to judge anybody how they feed their family unless they're hurting yours or people around you, right?
Exactly.
And you can end up there. You guys have been very supportive. So they get like this new law just came out, New Mexico, right? Czar just posted it. AI generated media, right? It's trying to regulating use of all AI in political advertisements to take effect, and also making it illegal to use AI in robocalls. Like, I don't think the public knows how dangerous, because it's all about getting the criminal after the crime is committed. Oh, let's get the information and let's go get him. Yeah, but there's 30 people dead already, right? It's just amazing. So
you
give these people
something.
a real understanding how they just can't stop it.
So you highlight something that I find quite concerning. Like, you can use AI in calling people. You just need to have, one, no intent of fraud or deception. And you need to have a previous relationship. Like, for example, I'm doing an appointment reminder and reschedule. That's perfectly legal. You can use AI in political ads to help you write the text, but you can't use AI in certain aspects of real-time interactions.
Yeah.
And so it's very unclear. And what I fear is our legislators are lacking the knowledge of the technology to properly regulate in a way that is beneficial for the people.
They can't regulate it. They can't.
No, they can't.
You can't eat that cookie. You're going to get fat. People still eat all those cookies, right?
Right.
You can't. There's the word I can't.
It's a
like
slippery slope that if you start regulating,
it's not a slippery
it's a
slope. It's
whack-a-mole.
the beginning of an epidemic. I mean, look, the FCC fined, what is it, $500 million in fines for robocalls. They collected $5,000 and haven't even gotten that in the door, right? So you got a bunch of crime fighters that want to fight crime. They want to fine people. We're going to fine you. We're going to fine you. Then they fine them, and the companies they're fining don't even pay. But then the other companies they send cease and desist to that have money, and for some reason they don't collect from those companies. They're trying to find companies that are in some part of Zimbabwe or somewhere, which I like to point to that because that's not strong.
It's going to be a problem, like enforcing this on an international scale at the way things work today.
Exactly.
And what I am very disappointed in is the FCC's implementation of stir shake and how this has been regulated and done. I think they fell short of what they should have done.
Yeah.
And I think we could have done better. My ultimate goal was to stop these calls, was to silence unknown callers on my iPhone, which has made my life simpler. If you're not in my address book, leave your name and number. I might call you back. Other than that, you have to know.
But then you got the type A personality like me. And I say it all the time. Somebody calls me, I'm answering. Because how many times I've picked up the phone and it was a friend I haven't called in a long time, or somebody I wanted to talk to, or a doctor's office for somebody, or for myself, or for somebody else around me. So I don't trust that. I pick up every call. And most people are like me. I think as you get older, we're like, somebody's calling me. Who wants to talk to me?
You highlight something that I'm working on right now, and this is Ethan. He's my personal assistant. I'm working on it, so if I don't answer my phone, he answers it, and we'll collect the data, talk to the person. If it's an appointment, he'll message it to me. If it's a telemarketer, he'll give them hell. So this is literally part of what we are going to be using our AI agent for.
Gotcha.
is this kind of a thing that you're talking about. Because if I don't know you and I don't want to answer it, maybe my AI agent can answer it, collect the data, validate who you are, and transfer you back to my cell phone. And that's perfect, because that's how I see a really good use case for our technology, is using it in that field. Yeah. And if you want to see Ethan West on LinkedIn, he is my AI agent. He actually has a page on LinkedIn. People have been trying to hire this man. He's 23 years old now, allegedly. But like I say, I took it to the extreme on that one. But he is one of the things I'm working on right now. Like I say,
I think people have already lost trust in the phone call. The numbers
they have
themselves, the amount of call, and now it's got a text. And MEF just put out a study today, which I'm staggered that they would even put it out. Alan, I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah.
With the amount of spam texts. I mean, what was that number? 43% of texts.
Yeah, higher on Android, lower on iOS devices. Yeah.
But think about the amount of percentage of spam texts.
Yeah.
Right. And that's something you have to open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to answer your text. Right. And that's why we've been so passionate about our fight here. And, don't even get me started on the campaign registry. I'm tired of hearing myself already. But just to shift gears a little bit, because we don't want to really hone down on the point.
Yeah.
You guys raise money from T-Mobile. You raise money from Deutsche Telekom, and they hate CPaaS companies. I want people to understand that. The people that hate the ecosystem the most funded these guys. Now, why? Because of who they are, what they knew, and how far they're ahead of ahead of the game they are. People don't understand that they're dumb pipes. These carriers are just public companies. They don't want to innovate. They want companies like SignalWire to innovate. They want other companies to innovate around them, because their whole job is subscriber, maximize how much more money can we build and how much money are we going to have to pay our dividends, right? So the amount of money that's being kicked around in AI right now, and it's everywhere. I call it the $1 trillion grift, because people are raising money on it. Smart guys in CPaaS, and I'll use an example of GMS. I mean, these guys skipped from being a messaging company. They skipped right over CPaaS and went right into AI. They made a couple of acquisitions. I know, because I was working to try to sell them Tintech many months, which I cried about many times. A lot of these CPaaS companies are kind of stuck in the old messaging. They still think there's messaging companies. Is part of your game in part of your marketing where you're going where everybody else wants to go now. So you're basically have built everything already. So you got a head start on it being the right way, not just, yeah, we could do this, we could do that until they. So you see yourself finding a place people come back to you.
I do see that. The one thing that we have that's unique to us is that we own the entire technology stack from the operating system to the web browser, which is very unique to us. We own it outright. It's ours. We can do what we want with it. It is our universe to control. And so we need to move heaven and earth. We have that capability to do it. So it helps us in that regard. We're not dependent on an outside project or an outside component or an outside technology. It's all in-house because we have been building this for 20 plus years. And so that gives us a little bit of a head start. And then like we control our universe as a result of that.
Oh yeah. And of course, with the ultimate control comes ultimate maintenance as well, but we won't run down that rat hole. But one of the things, and we've discussed ChatGPT, but there's many other models. What's your view on this sort of explosion we're seeing, all the new models and all the variations in them, in the models? Now, I know your focus is mainly LLM, so that drives you down the sort of ChatGPT route, but there's lots of overlap there. So just interested in your view on all these different models.
Well, we have plumbed our technology to be able to talk to pretty much any model.
Gotcha.
There are some prerequisites that have to be met.
Yeah.
And not every model can meet those. Like Google's Gemini can't yet. And like it has to be able to consistently be able to call functions.
Yeah.
And there's no open source model that can do that in a consistent manner now.
Yeah.
I'm not dogging open source. That is what has driven us. And I think it's going to drive everybody else forward. I think those open source models are going to get to that point.
Yep.
I don't know when. We are now going so fast. Like you've seen we're at AI music now.
Yes.
I can remap my voice.
I love one of your songs.
Yeah, I can remap my voice over a song now.
Yeah.
If it fits right. I have a whole stack of them on my phone where I've remapped my voice and they're really good and it sounds just like me. And it's like, wow, I wish I could sing that well, but I can't. But it sounds great.
Yeah.
So, we're at that level of you've got to think of technology like this as a tool in your toolbox, understand how to use it, where to apply it, and how to gain from it. And I think a lot of people have this fear overall of this technology. And it's just like when we were learning Google in the early 2000s. Like that was your key to success. I don't know the answer, but I can Google it. And I think AI is that tool that's replacing that. And I think that's why Google's having a red alert moment. Yeah. Because they're losing search traffic to Bing because of the AI component. Mm-hmm. And I think as long as
they've also lost a ton of search traffic to TikTok.
Yes, they have.
Searching on TikTok, I think it's like 33%.
Yeah, they've lost a big chunk.
Yeah. One more question. Hallucinations. Are they ever going to get solved? Because I've got a lot of different companies and people calling me. I've got, decks that get sent over to me for looking at for different groups. And it seems like the holy grail is solve the hallucination problem.
Hallucinations can be solved today. We've done it in various ways. For example, you can say, don't answer anything unless you've been told you're allowed to. This is a tight prompt. Yeah. Those are things that you can do. Hallucinations are nothing but word probabilities that play out. Yeah. That's all it is. If you don't constrain your prompt to the point of your focus, you will get hallucinations outside of that scope. So you have to think, well, how can I constrain it? So the first thing you can do is prompt, you can't answer anything. Like, for example, I did Thermal Thrillers, which is an after hours answering service for an HVAC system, for an HVAC company. And right off the bat, when I first started, the AI started trying to troubleshoot HVAC problems over the phone. I don't want her to do that. I want her just to collect the data. So I said, you're not able to troubleshoot any HVAC issues. You're only able to collect the information for after hours services. That's it. So that was enough to constrain it down. In addition, the one we did for Santa Claus this last December was very similar. I had shared the Santa Claus number with one of my friends that has a very twisted sense of humor. And so we tried to get Santa to send inappropriate toys. But there's one thing in our prompt that says interact with the user as if they were a child. And so that particular element locked the prompt down. And so if you asked for a gift that was inappropriate for a child, it would tell you that. And
Excellent.
so there's aspects of this that you can lock down by thinking about what you're trying to accomplish. And I think that's the failure that happened with the free Chevy and then the Air Canada things and all the gaffes we've seen. I've seen them all. I'm like, that is easily avoidable. It is a matter. And I've have all these people going prompt engineering. That's not real. I'm like, yeah, it kind of is. You gotta do this right. And it's got to just
design.
learn.
I mean, you've created this bot and it's in the design to make sure you've given it the railroads to basically run on, and you're not giving it powers that, it should never be given.
Right. Exactly.
And a lot of the enterprise. So look, the biggest problem with hallucinations is, and Alan, you got to send him over to the DHL one. Mark Hay sent over from Melrose Labs. It was incredible. And they just cost them millions of dollars. The company. With mistakes. I mean, our enterprise, are you guys front facing with a lot of enterprise? Because I see you guys marketing.
We have a
kind
few.
of the same world. You have a few.
We have a few. This comes down to understanding the product and the technology and how to deploy it properly. I actually have on our website, if you go to developer.signalwire.com, there is under AI. If you click guides, go to AI. There's a best practices guide that talks about a lot of these topics. And we update that consistently on things that will help you as a consumer deploying our technology or an enterprise deploying, how you could use this better for your needs. So our goal was to say, things like you can get your AI to do things wrong if you overprompt, give it too much. There's all these things. And we have this whole new thing coming where we'll have vector databases available. So you can upload a PDF and it uses that to answer all the questions. And so you have these things coming in the pipeline right now that's going to make our technology smarter and more on point and able to not run off the rails like some of the things we've seen.
Cool. No, that's exciting.
One more question, Alan. I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
To crowd this kid, but so right now you had recently somebody took them 15 minutes. They created product where they're able to, AI record somebody's kid's voice and then extort a couple $100 out of them as a kidnap ransom. This is starting to happen, and it's starting to happen a lot, and it's going to be an onslaught. From your perspective, is there a way to stop that? You can't educate everybody. I see people posting on LinkedIn and 10 people look, and then you got TV because media is all over the place. People are getting their media from TikTok, the web, mainstream media, the news. I mean, there's so many news outlets. How do we stop the average person from getting duped? I mean, is there anything in your mind, or you just think it's going to be a runaway train?
I think
I
think companies that implement this technology like we have constraints on that. You can't bring your own voice to our technology without approval. We have, if you want to bring a voice to our platform, we have to listen and approve that. So I think a lot of this will be gatekeeping at the technology implementers level. So that will help. I would say education would help, but we know how that'll go. Because when you have emotion involved in emergency, that education kind of goes out the window. So I think the choke point will be at places like SignalWire, where we have to be aware and cognizant of what people are doing with our technology. And we're not trying to be the police officers of this tech, but we're not going to let you bring a child's voice that doesn't make sense for your use case into our platform. And so, those are things that I think
But there's other people that are selling it, right?
Right. There are other people that are probably does not give two F's.
Because what you said, I have not heard yet from any of the regulators.
Really? Because we've made an effort.
nobody's even said what you just said. If you
Well,
stop it at the tech level, and that's
think we
maybe
need
something
to.
you should reach out and kind of put that point across, because it's going to happen.
It
I mean,
is.
look, it
It is.
happened,
And I
right?
think we've put like we've said, we don't let you bring a voice to our platform that's not approved. We are very controlling of those things because we don't want you to do things that are going to get us in trouble, you in trouble, or cause any problems, because problems for us or for you is a problem for us,
Yeah.
and we don't want to be involved in that. But I also do not want to be the police officer.
Correct.
But in some regards, we kind of have to put some guardrails in place.
Yeah.
And I think us as technology vendors of this technology, I think it's on us to try to mitigate this problem. And I think, Johnny, you do bring up something. I don't think many of these technology providers care. They just want the money. And I'd love the money, but if it's going to cause harm, I don't want the money.
Yeah.
Let's do something good for humanity and use the technology in an appropriate manner.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best way. And like you say, this is what we go for. I'm not here to just blow this out of the water. It'd be great, making bazillions of dollars, but if it becomes at the sacrifice of my morals and
So you
harm of
basically, you
others,
you don't want to be the AI Twilio, who are the spam kings of the world.
or the Twilly no.
The Twilio, right? I mean, they make money on spam. The whole grift is spam, which we're going to cover this weekend. But they like to think they're heroes.
But I don't want
That's
to.
another
I
conversation.
just don't want to welcome that kind of riffraff.
Understand. Yeah, no, that's clear.
No, I completely understand it. But it'd be nice if the regulators, hopefully, they're listening to us now because they're listening to the czar. So, Alan, post the czar on this because they seem to follow him with TCPA World. I don't know if you saw that.
No, this is a discussion that's definitely relevant. Because they've
Well,
been.
I mean, look, he opened
regs
up.
here.
He opened up between us doing the podcast on Umail,
Yep.
who are the world's biggest narcs, according to Czar, and for the right reasons. And the Czar's podcast, which is close to 2,000 views already, and I see the people liking it. I see the people in there. We're bringing awareness. So I think, Brian, if we could somehow bring awareness to that little segment, Alan, and kind of make a short out of it, just because I think it's important for people to understand what Brian just said on what SignalWire is doing. They took it upon themselves.
Put in the guardrails.
They
Exactly.
didn't wait for anybody to say, don't do this, right?
Yep.
They took it upon themselves.
Yep.
So I think if anything comes out of this podcast, that's the most important thing.